Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy week 0 Saturday. College football is officially back. Notre Dame looked decent against Navy, ran through them. Significant, not much of a game. USC plays today. We are here, folks. I mean, we are 1 week away from kickoff for Ohio State football. Super excited about that. They had a rehearsal scrimmage, more of a practice type workout. Jim Tressel used to call it the rehearsal scrimmage, kind of like the last final touch of practice before you get to go and get into game week. I mean, we are now into game week. These coaches, I'm sure, are probably enjoying a little bit of time off this evening, but they'll be in all day tomorrow on Sunday, getting the game plan going. I mean, I'm sure they have a game plan ready for Indiana, but we're going to get into that. It's here, folks. Time to get excited. We're super excited about this. But first, as always, we're very thankful and grateful for you guys. If you enjoy the content, please click like, click subscribe, and also click that little bell if you enjoy our live shows, and you can tune in. You'll get an alert on your phone when we go live, so you guys can get in here. I see the regulars are showing up. Appreciate you guys. Mello, Dave Rice, you guys are always 100 brass tacks. Appreciate you guys, as always. In the comments, I want your prediction for the starting quarterback. I think it's going to be Kyle McCord. I think that he's just, if it's all even, you go with the older guy who's got to start. I think Devin Brown, I've heard, and I know that Devin Brown has been better, so it's going to be interesting to see how they balance that. So we're going to get into all that. And also shout out where you guys are from. I love to see where you guys are watching from. We appreciate you guys. Florida, Tennessee, Ohio, obviously all over the place. We love seeing where you guys are watching from. So thank you guys for tuning in. With that being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you today?
Doing great, man. Just finished up watching the El Segundo Little League, advanced to the Little League World Series final today. Boys from just a couple miles away from here, so pretty excited about that. And rehearsal scrimmage, no injuries, and we're off 1 week in counting, 7 days till Indiana. So let's go. Best time of the year, man.
Yeah, I mean, week 0 is always kind of cool to see, a smattering of teams open up a week before the rest of the teams. Notre Dame, obviously, they looked impressive. Sam Hartman threw for 4 touchdowns. I think it was like 42-3. It wasn't much of a game against Navy, but Navy used to be, I mean, they gave us a lot of problems in 2014. It's a team that you never want to play because they were traditional triple option teams back in the day that was miserable to go against. But yeah, I think that it's an advantage if you can get a week 0 game, because I feel like you get to start camp a week earlier and you're just more locked in and ready to go. But I think it's an advantage for Ohio State that we have some Notre Dame tape that we can start studying and breaking down an extra piece of film to start watching right now. Nevada, how excited are you now that we are into college football? Obviously, Ohio State and the rest of the slate gets going next week. What are some of the things and some of the buzz you're hearing from camp? Obviously, they had their rehearsal workout at the shoe today. But what are you hearing?
Well, I think today was a day where, I think a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons, had kind of written off Kyle McCord in this quarterback derby. And I'm telling you, it's still a horse race. Now, for my money long term, where am I betting? I'm betting on Devin Brown. I think he's got a little bit more upside. I think he's got a little bit more juice, as Ryan Day likes to say. But Kyle had a good day today. And has, I do think he's going to get the start. Now, like I said, as soon as I say that, Ryan Day will probably come out with a social media post in 15 minutes saying that Devin Brown's going to be starting, and this will look silly. But I still think Kyle's going to get the start. I think Kyle's going to get the start. I think they'll both play liberally, and I think everybody will have a good chance to watch them, evaluate what they do well, evaluate what they don't do as well, and kind of figure out who's going to be the quarterback. So I think the IU game takes on extra intrigue, probably as much as I can remember in any recent past, just because of this quarterback battle. And I know I'm going to have my eyes firmly on that. And look, you watch every single Ohio State game with rapt interest, but this one especially so, because we want to find out who the quarterback's going to be. And Notre Dame, I thought Hartman looked fine. Navy was a little bit overmatched. And I mean, he's fine. I mean, he is exactly what I thought he would get. That was a good transfer portal upgrade for them, to get a guy that's a veteran, to get a guy that's thrown a lot of touchdown passes in the ACC. But Notre Dame's slow. I mean, they're just slow, and I don't think they can handle our team speed. And I think today's result was pretty predictable, but a great way to start out week 0 in college football. Football's back. Even got exhibition games with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers that matter today. So hey, lots to be excited about.
Yeah, I love it. I agree. I think that Notre Dame does not have the athleticism to run with Ohio State. The fastest guy on their team from last year is now on our team. Lorenzo Sells Jr. is a guy that can absolutely fly. He's got afterburners when he runs, and now he's a Buckeye. But yeah, I love this time of year. The excitement is in the air. People are just jacked up because football is America's game, and people love hearing about Ohio State and the buildup. And now it's actually here. We actually get to watch real football. Yeah, I'm going to be really excited to see how Ryan Day handles the quarterback derby. I think that doing a rehearsal scrimmage is really smart by Ryan Day today. This is something that Jim Tressel used to do. It probably wasn't really it was probably like a practice-ish type deal, but we used to do a pretty decent, not crazy scrimmage, but like a decent scrimmage where we would actually put the twos versus the ones in a rehearsal scrimmage. And the good thing about the rehearsal scrimmage is when you do it in the stadium, you get to go through the gyrations. You get to go through, okay, the locker room. Okay, here's the locker room. This is where your locker is. Okay, here's come down the ramp. Okay, here we do the Coach Mick. We do the quick cows. We do, they kind of go through all of it so that, when they're actually on the field, in a couple of weeks, obviously we open up on the road at Indiana. Players know where to go and know what to do and how to do things, which it sounds stupid, but it's something that I think is important and make it so that when they actually have to play in a game, there's no confusion. They go through the whole warm up like they normally do. They usually do some 7-on-7 or something to get the receivers and guys running around. And I think it's smart. I think to have a practice in the shoe. They haven't had to have as much work in the shoe because they had a couple concerts going on during training camp. They had like 4 concerts. So it's good for those guys to get in there. Tress used to always do all the scrimmages at the Horseshoe, which I thought was great because it is different. I know people, they don't think it is different, but when you're in the Horseshoe, it's different. Even if it's empty, it's different. Like you got to go prove you can go do it in that building because as I've said a million times, and I know you say it all the time, Nevada, practices and games are not the same. It's not even close. A game's got a completely different flow. Obviously, in a real game, there's no black jersey for Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. So, once these guys get a shot, there's going to be guys coming after them. We got 2 new tackles. So mobility, I think, is going to be key. Pocket presence is going to be key. Not turning the ball over is going to be key. So I'm really excited to see how this quarterback derby shakes out. And again, the schedule is brutal in the middle towards the end, but the beginning is nice and soft. So we get to see both these guys compete with the first offensive line, with Marvin, with Emeka. No one's getting held out now because it's not practice anymore. Nevada, what are you most excited to see a week from today when we play Indiana?
Well, before I get into that, I want to ask you a question. Is there like a secret bathroom at the Ohio Stadium that you found during like one of these walkthroughs or something that you could go to before a game or something like that? Or is like nothing like that? Did you find one like behind the band room or something like that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, there's a like a porta potty that's underneath the south stands where the students sit. Because it's like that's where like at halftime, and you don't learn this as a player, you learn this as a coach. Because at halftime of a game, the coaches have to go from the press box, which is on the far, it's everyone knows where the press box is on the home side of the stadium. You have to go down the elevator and you have to run all the way around the outside of the shoe, and then you have to run down the visiting team ramp, under the bleachers, up the home ramp. So you're like hauling. You're running through the concourse. Like it's something else. But yeah, that's where the bathroom is because at halftime, that's where the cheerleaders are down there. The media people are down there that are uploading photos at halftime. But yeah, there's like a little secret bathroom in there, which is something I didn't know about. And I don't know if it's still, I don't know if it's there right now, but it's there during the games. But yeah, I think most of the time guys, they find a trash can or something if they really got to go. But
if it was a secret, it's a secret no more now. Now that Mr. Barton has spread the word out there after all these years. But anyway, I digress. What am I looking forward to against Indiana? I want to see a dominated defensive performance. I want to see Ohio State just smother them defensively. I want to see the front 4 get pressure with 4. I want to see, covered. Obviously you'd like to see interceptions, but I just want to see, I want to see her get the hand on the football and deflect some passes and make some plays. And, I want to see the return of stifling defense for Ohio State. I know the offense is going to be there. I'm really not worried about that, but I want to see the defense take a step forward, show right off the bat that they're going to be in a leadership position for Ohio State this year, and I want to see them smother Indiana and shut them out. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see a dominant run game. I know that with what we do on offense, we like to chuck and duck it. Ryan Day made it very clear that he's going to be the play caller, which does not surprise me in the slightest. This is a big year for Ryan Day. I mean, he's got this is a brutal schedule. I mean, you got to go to Camp Randall, you got Penn State, and plus something that people don't talk about is you only have 6 home games, which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you had 8 last year was, loaded because, I mean, you only had to go on the road 4 times during the season. So playing at home is a humongous luxury. Just from a travel sense, a rest sense, the familiarity, and it's hard to go into the horseshoe and win. And Michigan did it last year, but they didn't do it for a long time. I think it's since 2000, maybe 2000 or something like that was when the last time Michigan won in the shoe. So 6 home games is a big deal. People aren't talking about that enough, but that's a big deal when you get to go on the road 6 times and go get 6 wins. But I'm excited to see the offensive line. It'll be interesting to see if Ryan Day takes care of the offensive line and helps them get their sea legs under them early in the season. I think that's going to be really important when you've got 2 new tackles. Like, let them get some confidence, let them come rocking off the ball, double team some guys, move some guys, get some confidence going before we start going chuck and duck mode. Because I think that, you got to get those guys going, and you got to get Trey going again, because Trey could easily be the number 1 running back drafted. He could easily be a first-team All-American if he gets enough carries and touches. But it'd be interesting to see, how's his confidence, because I think he's doing all the right things. I know he's doing all the right things. I know that he's healthy. I know that he's looked great. But is he going to get back to that freshman year level where he looked like he was going to be a top 10 NFL pick? Or is there going to be any nagging stuff? And, and again, they've taken care of some of these guys, Emeka, Marvin, Trey, kind of limit their touches, limit their reps, make, get them to the season. But, now you got to take the limiter off and you got to go get it. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see Trey. I hope we run the ball just to help the offensive line out. I hope we protect the guys that are making their first starts. Like, again, Josh Simmons, the left tackle, has never played left tackle in a game. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Again, he's had to go against JT and Jack every single day. So there's nothing in the universe that'll get you more ready to play than playing those 2 guys in practice. So, but I'm excited to see how these guys do. And I'm excited to see if Carnell Tate gets into the rotation. I think that he's our 3rd most talented receiver right now. He's a guy that we've been very high on. He's a guy that he's a 30-year-old and an 18-year-old's body. He's a grown man. He's obviously had an impossibly tough situation with the death of his mother. He's a kid that I can't imagine there's a kid I've ever rooted for harder than Carnell. But I'd love to see what his mix is with X and Julian Fleming and some of these other young guys that had a good camp. Nevada, we open at 3:30 at Bloomington. I know that there's no worry about losing the game, but what are some things? It's been a tricky place in the past. I don't think Indiana's as good as they have been. What are some benefits that you see to opening on the road? I'm just glad it's a 3:30 game instead of a night game.
Yeah. Now, look, I take no road Big Ten games for granted. I mean, I'm too old, have seen too many, the darkest day in Ohio State football history to still have nightmares of whoever that running back was for Indiana running in Anthony Thompson or whatever it was, 4 touchdowns or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I take nothing for granted. But look, I think it's a great challenge. I think for Ohio State, like you said, the bad news is we only have 6 home games, and that's a really underrated point, man. I'm telling you, only having 6 home games, you convert that to 8. I mean, when you have a home game in Ohio Stadium against any lesser opponent, it pretty much falls in the category of almost like unlosable. But when you go on the road, funny things happen on the road, and weird stuff can happen when you've got young starters at key positions like left tackle and quarterback and the like. So, I think it'll be presented just a sufficiently stern challenge for Ohio State that I think we can get our sea legs. And I like the fact that we'll have had a road game before we go to Notre Dame in week 4. I know playing at Indiana is not the same as playing at Notre Dame in week 4, but it's better than starting out with 3 home games. And the first time you face a hostile crowd is in front of the Irish. So I think the schedule sets up well from that standpoint. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be all that. So I think I know at Camp Randall, is tough, but I don't think Wisconsin's going to be very good. I think we're going to steamroll those guys. I mean, for me, it's going to come down to almost a 1-game season at Ann Arbor. But you got to get from here to there. And, as we talk about some of the guys that are the key, guys that have to step up. I mean, Jimmy Simmons had a good day today. Jimmy Simmons looked good at left tackle today. Carson Hinzman looked really good at center today. So, those were a couple of question marks that we had. We talked about the offensive line, and you talked about the positions that, that are solid positions that we have questions about. Left tackle and center were big question marks, coming into the fall. And I'm telling you, as of today, there are less of question marks for me, today. And I think that really bodes well for Ohio State offensively, because we get those things figured out. Sky's the limit for this offense, and was really glad to see those two guys ball out today, because needed to have it happen, and it certainly sets up well for Indiana next week.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be. Yeah, I think honestly, I like going on the road the first game, especially against a lesser opponent like Indiana, because these guys can get used to traveling. They can kind of see how the schedule looks. What it's like to get on a plane, fly over there. It's going to be a really quick flight. I like it's a 3:30 game, so they won't get back at 2 a.m. like it would be if it was an 8 o'clock start. I love the focus that comes with going on the road. It's not a hostile environment. It'll probably be 70% Ohio State fans in the stadium. It won't be very loud, so I think it'll be a good test. Like I think that road focus is something that you always talk about when you're kind of in the bunker with the team. Hey man, you got to lock in. You got to be sharp. I think it's good for the offensive line to get a taste of playing with noise. Granted, it's not a very loud stadium, especially when our fans are taking it over. But I think that getting used to practicing in the noise, playing in the noise, communicating in the noise before you have to go to South Bend and play a real team that could beat you. I think it's important to go get that done. Nevada, Ryan Day revealed that he's going to be calling most of the plays this year. Was that surprising to you? It didn't surprise me at all, just because I think that this is a big year for Ryan. Were you surprised by that after promoting Brian Hartline to offensive coordinator, that he's still going to maintain all the play calling?
Well, I didn't read it that way. I didn't read it that way. I think that he talked about doing the majority of it and kind of easing Hartline into it. So I looked at it as more of kind of a transition. But yeah, I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised because I know for a fact that that Gene Smith came to Ryan Day and asked Ryan Day to take a more CEO-like approach and be less micro approaching to, specifically, play calling and the like. You wanted him to take a more holistic view of the team and be more of a coach to the entire team than just the offense. So this seems to fly in the face of that a little bit. But I think if Dave's positioning this, to Smith as, hey, I need to transition Brian into this. He's not quite ready. I can see how that's going. But yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise. But I think it's just going to be kind of a process, as Day learns to kind of let go of that, and as Brian proves that he's kind of on the same page with Ryan, so they're kind of in sync. And I think that having a offensive coordinator that's in sync with what the head coach wants is super important. And I think those guys are just going to have to work it out the first part of the season, and I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I can't see him giving the play calling up, maybe ever. Just my opinion, just because that's what he's good at. It's what got him here. I think he does a good job at most points. Obviously, it's hard to be perfect. You're always going to want some calls back or whatever. But a lot of these guys that are offensive gurus, like that's their bread and butter is calling the plays. I mean, you see the guys in the NFL that are the young star coaches, Sean McVay, they're all calling their own plays. I feel like Ryan, in a crucial year for him, where we have, we don't have CJ Stroud, we don't have Justin Fields, we've got new quarterbacks, we've got a less talented offensive line. I'm not saying they're not going to be good, but they're not going to be as talented as last year with Paris and Dewan. I mean, I think that Ryan doesn't want to take the chance. Like, he doesn't want to be a guy that we lose a game because Brian Hartline's trying to learn how to call a game on the road, and Ryan Day's disagreeing with it. I think that, if I'm Ryan and I feel like I'm the best play caller in America, then I want to call the plays. He's the head coach, and if he screws something up or screws a call up or a play up or whatever, he'd rather absorb it and all be on him than the offensive than on Brian Hartline, who Brian's never called a play before. Like, I'm telling you, that's that's a really big deal when you've never done it. Like it was like when Kerry Combs took over as a defensive coordinator, he'd never called a defense before, and I was mortified by that hire, and I was right. So Brian Hartline is a guy who's got a lot of talent. He's obviously been phenomenal, outer worldly as a wide receiver developer and a wide receiver recruiter. But we have no idea how good of a play caller he is, and Ryan's already proven that he can do it on the biggest stage, the biggest games. Obviously, there's always plays that he wants back, but I think that's his forte. And if they're gonna go up to Ann Arbor, he wants to call that game and he wants to beat those guys. And if they don't win, then it's going to be on him again. But
but let me just offer a counterpoint to that. And I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. The only counter that I would offer is that if Ryan stepped back and started coaching maybe the entire team, maybe things like the special team screw-ups wouldn't happen as frequently as they happen. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Maybe there's other things. So it's not a zero-sum game. It's not just, hey, he calls the plays, but if he takes himself out of play calling, maybe he adds in other areas and we improve in other areas. And, it's kind of unknowable. That's kind of speculative. But when you see the number of times that we screwed up on special teams last year in huge spots, absolutely huge spots, the fake punt call against Michigan last year where we couldn't get the snap right and didn't get the communication in and all, that literally would have flipped the game. That would have flipped. I will go to my grave convinced that the up man, I think it was Tommy, probably would have run it in. I think he would have scored. If he wouldn't have scored, he'd have been down inside the 10 because there was no one on that side of the ball. Yeah. And, I just wonder if Ryan, again, it's great that he's a great play caller. We all know he's a great play caller, but I want him to be a great head coach. And, being a great head coach involves all the units on the team. So that's the flip side of that. But I understand what you're saying and certainly think there's a lot of wisdom to what you're saying on that.
Oh, trust me. I think that it's you got to have someone you trust and have them call each side of the ball. I think it's really hard to call a game and manage a team. I've been a player. I've been a coach. I've been a coach down on the field. I've been a coach up in the press box. It is absolute chaos. It's like you're inside the hurricane, and to have to measure all this stuff. And again, you're right. Like when they ran that fake punt and Mitch Rossi would have ran for 45 yards. I literally did a whole podcast breaking it down, and I was like, there's nobody there. And we screwed it up twice, which was amazing. And then in the Georgia game, we have 12 guys on the field, where we had another fake that we would have converted. So again, I think that, Urban didn't call plays. Truss, would suggest, but Jim Bolden called the plays for Truss. So, those guys obviously massively successful guys that had their finger on the pulse of the entire team. Because again, it's like being the CEO and the CFO for a big company. Like, it's better to have two really good people and have a good head coach, good offensive coordinator, and let them both do their separate jobs. Being offensive coordinator includes calling the plays. But again, I think
let me just ask you a question, because again, you're in a unique perspective because you've seen it from all sides of this. But like, and I hate to compare it to this because this thing, but like Saban's the greatest coach of all time. He doesn't call plays. He always has an offensive coordinator. And look, I've coached Pee-wee football. Okay, Pee-wee football, and it's crazy on the sideline, man. Mm-hmm. It's crazy just making sure kids have their mouth guards and who's got the plays and what's going on and managing the clock and everything. I cannot imagine trying to do that at the major college football level with 100,000 people in the stands and then trying to call plays and manage the team. I just think that is an impossibly huge challenge for anybody to be there. And like I said, you're uniquely situated to do it because you've been there, man. You sat right next to Tom Herman and called plays. How could you imagine trying to call plays from the sideline? First of all, to see it from the sideline, call the plays from the sideline, and still be the team manager for the whole thing?
No, it would be absolutely miserable. It'd be, it's obviously possible because guys do it. Sean McVay won a Super Bowl doing it, and Ryan Day's had massive success doing it. But when you're in that press box and you've got your little sheets, you got your notes, a big advantage to being in the press box when you're the coordinator is you can watch the play live, and then you can watch it on the Jumbotron, and then you can watch it on ESPN, which is usually on like a 15-second delay. So you can literally see every play 3 times. So when you see that, you can see what the blitz is, what the stunt was, what's the coverage, and then you can confirm it. Because when you're watching the game at real-time speed, it's just a big blur, but you can say, I think that's what happened. But then when you can see 2 more views of it, because the big difference between the NFL and college is that we don't have tablets. We don't have the printouts. We don't have the little Microsoft Surfaces like they do in the NFL where they can watch still images and see what happened. We don't have that in college. So, I mean, it's way harder to get all the organization done when you're on the sideline where, like Sean McVay, if he's meeting with Matt Stafford and sitting on the bench, they've got that little Microsoft tablet and they're looking at all the photos of, okay, this is what the coverage was. This is what they did with the blitz. So it's like, it's a lot easier to do it at that level, in my opinion. Again, I would literally be sitting next to Tom Herman. I'd be charting everything. I would be drawing the blitzes. I'd be writing the coverages down. So when it was time for him, when the defense took the field and we could go through the drive, I could say, okay, this was the blitz that we had. This is the stunt that we had. It was cover 3. It was cover 2. It was 2 fire, whatever. And this is what. And then there's always notes for every play, because I always just focus on the offensive line, and I say, okay, Andrew Norwell stepped the wrong way, so he must have heard the play wrong, or he got beat, or he fell down, or whoever. Corey Lindsley. I'd say this is what happened on the play. This is why we only got 2 yards instead of 30 yards. Whatever. So. You get all that information when you're sitting up there, and it's a controlled environment. It's quiet, relatively quiet. And like I said, it's just so much easier to do. And again, Ed Warner, when he took over in 2015 as the offensive coordinator, he was down on the field, coaching the offensive line, trying to call the plays. And frankly, we were stuck in the mud for most of the season. Then, we lose to Michigan State, probably the worst loss in Ohio State history, given how much more talent we had. And Michigan State beat us with their backup quarterback on the road. And then that next week, they put Ed up in the box, and we beat Michigan 50 to 14 or something, destroyed them. So that's what they should have did the whole time. But for whatever reason, they decided to keep Ed down on the field. I think that every play caller should be up in the booth because it's just so much easier to negotiate the game, talk to your assistant coaches, kind of run the schematics of it. And that's something that I think people that haven't been in that, it's hard to describe. You can see it in movies and you can see it, whatever. But when you're in that moment and you've got a good chemistry, because me and Ed Warner had a really good chemistry. We could really, hey, he trusted what I saw. I gave him exactly what it was. And that's so critical to negotiating what teams are doing against you. Because the one big thing that you never know is you never know what a team's going to do against you, especially in 12 with Urban. He's bringing that power spread up from the SEC. We had no idea how teams were going to line up against it. We could guess, and every single week, whatever we thought we were going to get, we got something different, literally that entire week. So it was like our scouting reports were completely worthless because teams played us completely different. Because there's no law in football that says because they ran this defense last week or Notre Dame did this against Navy, that's how they're going to defend us, So, and you have to diagnose that quick, man. And I'm telling you, when you're in that booth and it's quiet and you can go through everything and just be real sure about what you're getting, then I think it increases your chances to be effective. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? That was a lot.
Well, no, I just think I just am fascinated hearing you talk about it because, like I said, just at the most granular level, I try to manage my little teams trying to do it, and I just can't imagine somebody doing it. And like I said, I have so much respect for guys like Ryan Day or Lincoln Riley that can call plays and still be the head football coach and do it all from the sideline in terms of doing it. But from my untrained, when I'm on the sideline, it looks like just a big mosh pit to me. And I just see guys slamming into each other, and I just think that it's maybe that I'm just educated or uncultured because I can't really dissect what the heck's going on. And from a higher view, from a press box view, I just get a much better picture of it. But for Day to be able to sit there, then it also brings up the thing. Well, so if Hartline's not going to be calling plays, does he still sit in the booth and not coach the wide receivers from the sideline? You know what I'm saying? It'll be interesting to watch that. We talk about things that are going to be interesting to watch the first week. How are they going to play that? Because if he's not calling plays, and they pulled him off the sideline. Seems like we're getting kind of the worst of both worlds in terms of doing that. But I really think Bryant's got to be up in the box. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating because generally the wide receivers coach is down. He's down on the field. I'd imagine, Justin Fry's been down on the field. So that leaves, Keenan Bailey probably has to go up because they got to have somebody up there. And then you've got Todd Finch, who's the QC. I'm not sure if he's allowed to be up in the booth. So it's going to be fascinating to see who's up, who's down. Do they put Joe Philbin up? Because Joe Philbin's got eyes, and he's and by I mean he's got eyes, like he can decipher what's going on the field and relay that down to Justin when they're addressing what's going on with the offensive line, because that's critical, man. Like when you're playing like Georgia and Georgia's running all these simulated pressures from all over the place, like you have to be able to convey to the line coach, this is what the blitz is. This is where the defensive tackle, he went to the opposite B gap. Okay. The end dropped, the Mike went in the A gap, the Will went in the B gap. Like, I mean, you have to be able to say that. And so that when he's drawing it on the board and working with the players, it's got to be exactly what happened. You can't guess it. And again, that's the big advantage to being up in the box, is you have a clearer picture to see everything, but then you also get to look at it on the Jumbotron and you get to look at it on ESPN. So you can confirm, that the guys went to the right spots in the blitzes, because that's huge. And people don't know that unless they've lived it. So, well, God, we've been going for a hot minute. Well, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. This is 1 week out, ladies and gentlemen, 3:30 at Bloomington. This is a huge year. I can't wait to see the quarterbacks rotating in. Nevada, any final thoughts?
No, I thought this was a great send-off rehearsal scrimmage / practice today. No big injuries, some standouts on the offensive line, defense looking good, both quarterbacks looking more than capable. So no, I think we're positioned perfectly for a great week of practice and a great effort in Bloomington next weekend. So I can't wait to get after it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Again, I think this is a successful camp. Outside of poor Court Williams, who is snake bit and tore his ACL, no major injuries. So I think it was a successful camp. They got a plus one day. They'll be working on Monday, I'm sure. Now it's time for these guys to grind. It's time to have some fun and actually play some football. So with that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. College football is here. If you guys want the best companion that there is to college football season, join BuckeyeScoop.com. Our message board has been going crazy today. We've been talking about the Notre Dame game. SC's getting ready to tee it up here. I'm sure they'll wax San Jose State. But college football is here, ladies and gentlemen. NFL's following a week later, and it's going to be crazy. So get on BuckeyeScoop.com. It is your perfect companion to the college football season. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like. Those are so helpful to our content and our video. Thank you so much for doing that. Click subscribe. Send this to your friends, your family, your coworkers, anybody who loves Ohio State football. We appreciate you. Our site is growing like nuts, all because of you guys. Click that little alert bell if you like our live shows. I love seeing all the regulars in here. Appreciate you guys being on here, as always. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.